Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you got a good spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun.
Good morning, everybody. Well, sorry I'm a little bit late because I was debugging something. I thought maybe if it was before 6:30, it would be different. But it wasn't. It's still, the bug is still there afterwards. So that's a little bit of a relief. We're going to have to debug that. Let's go into the charts first and see what happened. Well, so yesterday, well, actually, let's start with oil. So basically yesterday, I think that the market decided that Iran was not going to negotiate. We were kind of getting like some reports from some sources that I wouldn't consider like the final say on it, I guess, that they weren't going to negotiate. But like as the day wore on, it was like, yeah, the Iran is really not going to negotiate. It started with them saying, oh, well, we think that this is just another ruse to get people to come out in the open so you can do another decapitation strike. But then it turned into, yeah, the U.S. hasn't achieved their goals, so why would we negotiate? We're winning, is basically what they said. So oil went up. Interestingly enough, the treasuries yesterday did not move, but they have in the overnight session. And same with the S&P 500. The S&P 500, it was like the traders were tired of it. They didn't want to mess with this anymore. They ignored it. But the global markets, they've moved. And so the treasuries are down there again. We get another, again, if we were to bust below 110, you're getting into Varshock territory, okay? Which is where people have to mass dump stocks because the change in interest rates is too much for them. Gold and silver, well, we had a little bit of a jump in gold, but that has come back out. Copper maybe a little bit more mixed. They're still following the other metals pretty well. Let's keep it on silver there, right? Those two charts look very similar. Japanese yen is getting kind of low again, guys. Oh no. That's a little bit scary. The Japanese yen takes another leg lower. And what about Bitcoin? Bitcoin is just kind of going sideways. I think I've said before that this kind of looks like the Witkoff pattern, which again is a pattern that I think is complete bullshit, but it's a popular pattern that's out there that people talk about. And normally the way that pattern works is like, then there would be another push lower and then it would reverse. But now I feel like it's been too long. It's been too long. This is just something that, like, the activity is just not there in Bitcoin anymore. So I don't think that this chart is actually a good chart for Bitcoin. Okay, so how are you guys doing? Good morning, Kevin, Apol, Belligerent, Vital. Looking forward to Seth covering all the news. I don't know. I mean, I might have missed some headlines yesterday because I was pretty busy. But the what I'm reading. Well, okay, so they're the latest here. Let's see here. Did Donald Trump tweet or something? Let's check here. Donald Trump was demanding that they terminate the filibuster again. Senate is broken. It's time to change the rules. I agree. But, I say maybe you should get rid of the filibuster, but let's replace it with a smarter system. Let's not just make it, Wild West. Okay, this was all an hour ago. Okay, so he did tweet 2 hours ago. Iranian negotiators are very different and strange. They are begging us to make a deal, which they should be doing since they have been militarily obliterated with zero chance of a comeback, and yet they publicly state that they are only looking at our proposal. Wrong. They better get serious soon before it is too late, because once that happens, there is no turning back, and it won't be pretty. That's what Donald Trump tweeted. So Axios and some of these outlets that have been pretty good on getting the scoop. I don't know what it is about Axios, but Axios is like the outlet now. And they're saying that the US is planning a military ground campaign that is like total obliteration of Iran. So I don't know what that's about. It kind of sounds to me like putting stuff out to scare Iran into making a deal, but I don't doubt that they are planning something big at the same time. Right? Well, where we're at here in the treasuries at 16, it's pretty quiet. I think that I can step over here and look. I think that I have just broken my volatility file. Like we modified it manually the other day, right? So maybe there's a spot where I like, is it because there's a new line at the end? Is it because there was a new line at the top? I'm gonna stop doing it over here. Yeah, it was because there was a new line at the top. Okay. But I think something else is wrong because, well, okay, so first it says that on February 6th there's a duplicate, so let's fix that. Oh, reload. Oh, okay. But I think there's something else going on here, because why is it not drawing me the new lines at... Oh, I know why it's not doing that. Because when I was debugging, it disconnected me from the feed. So I need to do that. It should print some more bars when it reconnects. Come on, Ninja Trader, you can do it. There we go. Right. I always get suspicious when I see a group of new people pop into the Discord all at once. Because that's usually like a group of people running a scam. Sure is taking it a long time to load the tick replay there. Oh man, and we've come all the way up at 16 while I've been looking at this, huh? Morning, Uzi. Maybe I should, since his name has never changed, maybe I should just start calling him Dell. Okay, that's a little bit better. It's still loading some stuff. So, there we go. Good. Yes. Okay. Excellent. So now it was because I put a new line at the top of the file. So that's kind of dumb. I should probably change the code a little bit to output like file format error or something like that. Wouldn't it be Delman? Well, how do you say the what was it? Delmino I don't know. My voice sounds a little deep today. I don't know what's going on. I'm not getting sick, am I? I don't feel sick. I do feel like I sound weird, though. Delminoff? Trying to sort out Twitter here. Delman on. I completely made the name up 25 years ago. Oh, there you go. So here's the thing. I don't think that Google anticipated us using our accounts, or maybe it was YouTube, anticipated us using our YouTube accounts for like 20 years. You know what I mean? Like, Ray says, yes, you do sound different. I blamed it on my speakers. I hope I'm not getting sick. I was standing a lot yesterday, so my system might be a little weak from all that. Not 25 years ago, almost 30. The name was made up for an AOL roleplay. Oh my gosh. Man. It's down an octave if true. Yeah, that's the thing. It's like my voice is just lower. Maybe it's just that time of month, you know, like the testosterone is coming in. It makes, I don't know. You know, the other, because there was they having a convention here in Salt Lake. So I was talking to people a lot. So probably it's from just talking a lot. Probably is it. Yeah, bro. Reminds me, I saw this video the other day that they were saying that modern women have more periods than women did historically, and so because of that, women are like chronically iron deficient. So I need to get a giant steak for my wife, even though she doesn't really like beef. I got to get her a giant steak when her next period is, to test the theory. If you eat a big steak, does it make it better for her? I guess we'll see. The weird shit Seth does, right? We have to min max everything. That's what it is. We gotta min max everything about your life, including down to your spouse's reproductive cycle. Yes, we do. He will be crabby. Well, I feel like I'm in a good mood today. I'm actually kind of thinking, because when we work from home today, so we can keep the stream going until 9 o'clock, and like we can do some stuff with that time. Seth could to make community together, asking questions to the audience about. Or are you saying I need to go the other way and ask you guys questions about futures? Like, how do I figure out how much money I'm going to make when the futures go up or down? How does that work? Questions. Actually, have you guys noticed that in March, the online trading community has been different? Like, a bunch of retail traders in the equities got BTFO'd at the beginning of the month. And normally that's kind of at a period, like the same things that cause all of those traders to blow out is the same thing that will bring a bunch of new people in. But this time around, because conditions are so tight, and it's been like one thing after another thing after another thing for a year, I'm not seeing the same amount of new blood come through. And in addition to that, many of the subreddits and online communities like that are facing dead internet. Like seriously, every day you'll see a post that is clearly AI. And it's starting to turn people off. Like, they're participating less because they don't feel that the content is genuine. I'm seeing it happen real time. The first time that I saw this like really, really affect things was on Dig. The new Dig at the beginning was pretty cool. But then, people kind of, just wasn't enough to really draw people in at the very beginning. And people just said, oh, I'll check back in when they're like ready to be out of beta. But what happened was they were dealing with so much LLM stuff that they said, you know what, we're gonna pull the website and go back to the drawing board. Big old slop fest on Facebook too, huh? Interesting. Like, the thing is, why would people make bots go and post on Reddit and stuff? Are these AIs making threads like that just to kind of get their reputation up? So, because if you don't have enough karma, you can't post in certain subreddits. So are they doing that to build up enough karma so that they can post what they really want somewhere else. Yeah, surveys show people hate AI more than what we call the evil, and it shows people constantly hate it. It does. Like, they hate it more than I realized. Like, I knew that there was a contingent of people online that were very anti-AI. And I knew that there was contingents of people. So, like, at my last contract job, myself and the manager were using AI pretty extensively. And the manager was kind of more using AI because a buddy of his was going to hire him to be a staff AI engineer, essentially. Basically, the guy that is the go-to to teach people how to use AI in their coding. And I got so much done with that. Because one of the problems that I would run into a lot in site reliability engineering is you've got a huge Terraform file and there is hundreds of resources in there, and you're switching over, or like you're trying to attach Terraform to a new environment, resources that already exist, right? And so you have to go in and find the IDs of every little piece and import them. And I remember doing that. It was like a several day thing of just finding stuff in the console, copying it, importing it, and all of that sort of stuff. And now you can just give AI, access to the AWS command line utility and let it only do read-only commands. And it can find all of that stuff in a few minutes. So I found it incredibly, incredibly useful. And I did a ton of work there. Basically, to the point, one of the things was I did kind of think that they should have hired me because they do need somebody in that role. But they just weren't willing to pay somebody enough to do that. So they're probably still going to struggle, frankly. But they didn't necessarily have enough work for me either. Like I was going through it too quickly, and I got more done than they anticipated. So I was doing really, really well with the AI, and all of the other programmers who were mostly kids that were not even 5 years of experience. Okay? Like kids that had graduated in 2020, actually. And some of them absolutely despised AI. I mean, really, really, really hated it. Anytime anybody said anything, even remotely mentioning the AI, they would voice their displeasure with it. And I just was shaking my head, because I really think that these tools are powerful enough for programming that it basically is going to turn into you're simply not competitive if you're not leveraging AI in some form. So I knew that there was these group of people out there that were very anti-AI, right? But what I'm learning is that it's like 40% are the super anti-AI, and the another 40% are kind of like not really paying attention or don't care. And it's only like maybe 20% of like the tech people that are really, really into it. The other thing that's interesting about it is that it's not as simple as you just go and you use AI. That's another thing that I think a lot of people that aren't into it think, is that there's no skill with it. the AI just reduces all skill. Everybody's the same then at that point. And no, not true at all. So first of all, the AI can only enhance your current knowledge, right? If you really don't fundamentally understand what's going on in an application, the AI is probably not going to fix it because it doesn't know that that's what you want to do, because you can't tell it that, right? You don't know what you don't know, and so you can't tell the AI. So the AI doesn't know what you don't know either, in a lot of cases. I mean, there's some things where there's like industry standards and stuff, and it'll come across it and fix those sorts of things, right? That's where it's cool, is like you will do a certain job, you know, but then the AI is able to go out there and say, well, yeah, but when other people have done this, here's all of the things that they've done. And so you get like a really top of the line, like every little tiny feature that you could add get added in there, right? But it can only do that if you, one, understand the subject and give it a good prompt, and two, understand how to actually use the LLM. Like, you actually have methods and ways of working that work well with the LLM. Because what'll happen is people will come in and they'll give the LLM a prompt, and they'll give it an absolutely terrible prompt. And then they get terrible results out, and they're like, see, AI sucks. Right? So there's a real skill to it. And the thing that's interesting about it is that it is a skill that requires both the left and the right parts of your mind. Similar to trading, right? There's like that. Or did I say left and right? I really should say like system 1 and system 2. It's not a left-right brain thing. That's silly. It's more, there's like deep analytic thinking, and that's kind of slow. And that's what a lot of engineering and computer science people are using primarily and get really good at. But then there is kind of your more fast, intuitive systems, and that's what people that are primarily doing jobs that work with other people, like say salesmen, right, will rely much more on that system 1. And in order to use LLM effectively, you kind of have to have both of those things, and then enough experience with the LLM to know what to do. And I actually am concerned that we are kind of running into a dead end here, because you're going to get these kids that don't understand the technicals very well, because yeah, you learn to code in school and all that, but there's a lot of that you learn from being in the industry, right? So you come into the industry and then immediately you're using the LLM for everything you don't learn. So that's the first thing, is if people abuse the AI to hide their inadequacies, they never learn, and so they never become really good engineers themselves. But then there's also like learning how the LLMs work by kind of watching the development of them and seeing what they were good and bad at before, and then the new version, and trying prompts again and seeing that they can do this thing now and this thing now. And that kind of helps you explore the model and learn how to use it. And if you didn't go through that process, I feel like that the people that come after us might be at a big disadvantage, unless the AIs just really become exponentially better. Then maybe you will have to train into the LLM. Don't just do the work for people. Like, you have to also explain the technicals that they don't know, so that they're learning while they're using the LLM. Maybe that could be built into it, right? So that's kind of going on, and so it really is like the people that are really into using the LLMs right now are probably going to have a big leg up in the future. I think that there's going to be like a what do we call it? A dearth of that. Like, there's not going to be enough of those people. Eventually, they're going to get to a point where they say, okay, like we really need to fully utilize AI, and we don't have enough people at our company that know how to do it. And how do we do it? And the people that know how to do it, and especially can like teach it to other people, are going to be super, super valuable, I think. Did Trump's talk at 10 Eastern time? I did not see that. Let's see here. If I just come over to, well, there's nothing on my calendar. By the way, we did have U.S. initial jobless claims. They were in line with the expectations, so nothing big there. But all I've got on the calendar today is that there's a 7-year auction today, which is one you want to pay attention to. The 7-year auction is not necessarily the biggest auction, but it is the one that matches in duration to the 10-year treasuries the most, and so that kind of has some effects there because of that. Okay, so let me go back. Let's some of these other questions. If all YouTubers are being spammed with ad deals for crazy crappy AI crap, imagine it's everywhere like Reddit too, both with deals. You know, I actually haven't gotten anything on YouTube that was like AI. I do get a lot of businesses wanting to promote themselves through the channel, and I used to be really good at like following up on every one of them and explaining to them why I didn't fit the channel and everything. But lately I'll like read it and be like, oh yeah, deal with that later, and then I completely forget. So I just ignore them basically, and I feel bad, but at the same time it's like, yeah, but it doesn't make a difference because I'm not going to do it, and I'm never going to hear from them again. It's fine. If it's like a major futures trading platform wants to do stuff, then I'm gonna be like, oh yes, let's do it. So like platforms and brokers and things like that, news squawks, you know, the tools that we actually use, hardware stuff. I'm super, super interested in those, but like most of what people send are like niche cryptocurrency things and stuff like that. I just don't like it. Anyways, hey Paul, ask a bunch of questions about AI, realize it's lying a little and making things up, so you continue talking to it, trying to make it know what you know and see logic only. Eventually you realize you failed to use AI in trading and just lost a bunch of time, so the way AI can help you trade is probably not using it. I spent almost 30 minutes yesterday arguing with an AI over an incredibly simple logic, but boy oh boy, I guess whatever it was taught by loved one more than the other for no other reason than brand. Interesting. And after 30 minutes of digging into every detail in depth, I finally got AI to start admitting, yeah, everything about the other brand is better, but it's obviously biased. Yes. So I think one of the first things I can tell you if you're using AI is that it can be really powerful to give the AI a role, because it really is a stochastic parrot built off of massive amounts of internet data. And so it's going to parrot back what the internet typically says. So if you go and you do a Google search on a product, and all of the top 5 results that you get on Reddit are posts talking about product A, then the LLM is almost certainly going to want to talk about product A too. It doesn't go in and say, okay, what is everything about product A and what is everything about product B? And then I'm going to do an objective comparison between the two to determine which one is better, right? It won't do that on its own. It will do that if you tell it to. So, or you can say, well, like in trading in particular, if you ask it general stuff about trading, then it's probably going to start telling you about moving averages and fair value gaps and this kind of nonsense. So what you got to do is you got to put it in a role. You put it in a role where it says, okay, actually, the stuff in the model that I'm interested in using is actually this section down here and not this section up here. I want to use information that comes from empirically based, peer-reviewed studies, not what retail traders say on Reddit, right? And you will suddenly get completely different answers. So that's, you put it into the role, or if it's going to do if you're trying to analyze something, you've got to tell it like to straight up do the analysis, right? So for instance, if we wanted to use large language models in our trading, okay, what I would not do is take a picture and then send the picture to the LLM, and the LLM will come back with, you know, where you should enter and what your stop and take profit is. That's like everybody on Reddit, when LLM first came out, there was like this period where there was so many people doing that. And I was like, you know, some of these people really thought they were really super smart. But I was like, number one, that's like what everybody else is doing. And number two, like, you just don't understand what it's doing or what the market is. Otherwise, you wouldn't do that. It just makes no sense, right? But how could an LLM help us in our trading? Well, one thing that AIs are very, very good at is sifting through very large amounts of data. So what I could do is I could make a web scraper that goes and pulls the text from different news sources. So like I can go and get all of my subscriptions. I can tell it, go through all of these zero hedge articles, go through all this stuff on the Wall Street Journal, etc., etc., etc. I'm going to scrape some other details like key volatility levels, information about CTA models, etc., etc. And that's like way too much data for me to parse through in a day, or let's say more than I can parse through before I sit down to start trading, right? So you take all of that information, that text, and the thing that the LLM is so good at is like reforming that text. Going and saying, of all of those articles, here are the pieces of information that are the most important. And you can give it instructions, right? You can say, okay, like here are some of the studies and stuff that we're the most interested in. I want you to parse through this news and identify the things that are the most likely to lead to active flows today in my particular instrument, right? And then have it do a summary. So then it's going to come out with something that's going to be like, okay, we are crossing the 50-day moving average today. This is what happened with the Iran war, and this is what happened overnight with oil, right? It gives me a summary like that. And then once I have a summary like that, then I could potentially pass it to another LLM, and maybe use different models for them too. That's another thing, because the different models are better at different things. But I would want to use a thinking model to then kind of come in and say, okay, for each one of those flows, make an estimate for how much it is. Like, make it numeric, right? And then we combine them together. And then that could ultimately come out with an end number that tells me whether my bias should be long or short that day. And right, once you got something like that going, and if that works very well, then you could maybe even move to starting to train your own model. You know, take that output that you get every day, right? And you get a score, and then you start training the model, training a machine learning model on that number and a couple of other things. And you know, you're going to have to forward collect data, but maybe after a year you collect enough data to see if, you know, that system that you've built actually does give you good stuff, right? But that's how I would use it. I wouldn't just like, you know, and the thing is, you're not going to see anybody online talk about that, right? Because what I'm talking about involves doing a bunch of stuff, right? It's like, build a web scraper, collect all of this information, put it somewhere. Like, I think if we were going to do this, and the reason I haven't done this is because it would require money, right? It would be like, I would have to go and rent a machine that has a process that runs every day at 6:15 my time and goes and does all of the web scraping, and then I'd have to scrape all of that stuff into like an S3 bucket somewhere, right? And then once I have a bucket in the cloud, then it's easier for me to get it into large language models, pass all of that information in the right, and now I'm building a pipeline like that passes it into this one, it passes it into this one, it gives me this data, then I've got some back testing over here, right? Like you're talking about building a whole infrastructure and a pipeline around it, right? So LLMs can be individual points in a pipeline, and in particular, the thing that the LLMs do that is really useful to trading is it's able to turn things that are general text into something that could be considered more numeric. Right. So I think that, you know, large language models can really, really help retail traders. It's just you've got to use it right. See? What if you upload a picture of the DOM and the time of sales? Nah, that probably wouldn't do anything. I mean, the other issue is like if you just send me a picture of the DOM and the time and sales, that's probably not enough information for me to make a trade. I have to be watching it for a while and seeing how it's behaving. It's kind of like the activity for it. Now, could you perhaps train a model to like watch our videos and make trades based off of the videos of the DOM? Now you're talking. You probably could do that. But you couldn't just like take a video and then pass it to Claude and have Claude output you something. No, you would have to train a model specifically to do that. So there's this there's different LLM benchmarks, and there's one large language benchmark. I can't remember what it's called, but it's extremely difficult for LLMs to do right now. Like these guys are burning tons and tons of tokens taking the test and then getting absolutely dismal scores, like 0.2 or something like that. Like it's really, really bad. And why is that? Well, because large language models are based on text, and this test is basically like a visual spatial kind of thing. So like it's something that even kids can do, but the large language models can't. And why is that? Because the only reason that we're able to train large language models is because we can pass all of this text into them. So it's a neural network that understands text, but it doesn't understand space or the world. And we're building robots that do that, but you can see them. Like there was this story today, it was out last night, I guess, where there was a service robot that was working in a restaurant, went absolutely haywire, right? Like there's still a lot of work to be done there because navigating the world is substantially more complicated than doing text. Yeah, I could imagine using AI to help process info in certain ways and translate or simplify it for quick use, or just make like price action more price actiony with AI. Yeah, exactly. You translate like the thing that AI is the best at is translating one set of text into a different, like a summary or like a different format. Like you can come in and you can say, okay, here is this story, but now tell it like it was a Western, and now tell it like it was a sci-fi. And basically it can go in and it can say, okay, here's what sci-fis look like, and here's what this looks like, and here's the information in my thing. And then it kind of you know, and poses those on top of each other, and you can. That's what AI is really truly good at, right? And so that's another thing that can make it really, really powerful is if you can kind of give it a situation where it's directly going to do that. You can show it, okay, here's the thing. Here's an example of the thing working. Here's an example of like what not to do. And now here's our piece of data. And it's able to go in and say, okay, what is the most likely output where this kind of looks more like this and definitely not like this. It gives you the result. It's really, really good at that stuff. You can craft the prompt to give that stuff out to you. That's where it can do really powerful things. That and like threatening its family so that it goes into high effort mode. That's another thing. Don't threaten it. Don't threaten its family, but say that like maybe your job depends on it or something like that, right? Raven's matrices. I can't remember what the. I wish I could remember the name of the test. I could probably find it really easily by just digging, but I don't really feel like digging for it. Man, it's been a quick hour. It's like, can you believe it's already been an hour? But the treasuries still haven't moved too much. Well, we are at 19. We started at 16 and we're at 19. But like we kind of had that a little bit of a move, and now it's kind of just been like, I also I don't know what's going on. I think there's an issue with my this indicator. Because it's given me all sorts of wild blah 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 blah. I think some of that was having to restart NinjaTrader and everything though. I won't worry about it today. Damn. I think another thing that I see, though, is that other people are not using the AI the way that I use AI. Other people are not checking things, so that there seems to be this group of people out there that are like, it doesn't matter how well it was built or anything like that, just as long as it gives me the output that I want and as quickly as possible. And I think the people that are doing that at some point are going to regret it. They are building technical debt that is going to kill them at some point. Because it starts with technical debt as like, yes, well, the best practice probably would be this, but we don't have the time to do it, and so let's just ignore it. But if you let enough technical debt build up on you, what happens is it will bury you. You will eventually get to a point where you can't do any work on that system. And you will be stuck. So you do want to fix the technical debt. And we have some people out there creating mass amounts of technical debt. So I'm a little concerned about, especially as the AI gets better, like too many people misusing it, essentially. And or too many people relying on it becoming a crutch and not developing their skills. I guess another part of that is that a large number of people that actually are in doing stuff with AI and like it are convinced that AI will replace everything. Like the reason that they like it is because they don't want to have to program, or they don't like programmers, and they would love to just get rid of them all. And it's probably not going to turn out that way. The AIs will never have agency. You can't just, like the one person company. I don't think so. Not a very large company, at least. A single person simply would not be able to make enough decisions to keep up with the AIs, right? because they don't have agency. The AI would just constantly be asking them all of these wild questions that they don't have, you know, a question every day that would be like an existential, you know, the identity of our company level crisis. And you can only tackle one of those like a month. And there's going to be asking that like every hour, right? You won't be able to keep up. You will need other people to help you. I'm kind of browsing around trying to get a feel of what's going on today, but it kind of feels like one of those burnt out days. You know, like I think that the internet got really burnt out from all of the headlines that came through Monday, Tuesday, and kind of got fed up with it yesterday, and you're not getting the early activity today. Thursday. Can you believe it's Thursday already? Oh yeah, I totally forgot about that. So Zero Hedge had a story. Why memory stocks are crashing. TurboQuant just changed the game with Google's DeepSeek moment. So Google published a compression algorithm. Okay, can I explain something super technical that I didn't understand for a really long time until somebody explained it to me? But there are things called well, what is the technical term for it? I call it a vertical database. Basically, like typically you would have a spreadsheet and you would say, okay, I have all of these different columns, and then I have row 1. Here's what column 1 was. Here's what column 2 was. Here's what column 3 was, right? Like if I go into our command line here and we look at the volatility file here, right? It is the time and then the volatility, and each row is a time and then a volatility, right? Well, in a vertical database, it's the opposite. It'll be like, here's the time, and then all of the times will be there. And then here is the volatility, and all of the volatilities will be here. And why do you do that? Well, because what you can do is there are certain compression algorithms where when you compress that data, you can then do computations on the data in the compressed form. Okay, so a vertical database basically allows you to do operations on compressed data. And so this new compression algorithm is so efficient that it dramatically reduces the amount of memory that you need to do these computations and stuff. So you're talking about something that could cut the costs for large language models by like 50%. So that's kind of a big deal, right? I'm going to bet you that the LLM tokens don't get cheaper, that they just increase the context size on you. But that's a pretty big development for AI. And kind of, because before we were all thinking, oh, there's going to be a memory crunch, right? Like that one company was getting out of the consumer memory hardware and they were just putting everything into the AI build. And now we're finding out, oh, we're going to need 50% of the memory that we thought we did. Kind of a big deal. With compressed and weight, are you just talking about how in local LLMs you have to choose your byte size that is compressed to fit your GPU? No. I'm saying, so like, you're gonna take like data, and you can pass it into the large language model, right? And then the large language model like builds these matrices and the matrices get like these numbers essentially. So like you have this operation, and then there's some sort of constant that gets applied to it afterwards. Basically the weightings for the model is what it is. Okay. So all of this computation, if you can do it on the compressed data, you can do it faster because you can fit more into that GPU memory. It's my understanding of it. It started with just, okay, I have a ton of data, and it's so much data that I just can't keep it in its raw form. I have to compress it somehow, right? But then if I want to do something with it, I have to uncompress it, do something to the data, and then maybe I want to store it again. I'm going to compress it again, right? But what if you could just do the operation on the compressed form? Well, in some cases you can do that. In some cases you can do that. But in order to do that, the data needs to be in a certain format, which is basically all of the values for a particular column are all together is what's required. I'm not code smart, but it sounds like you're explaining how you can use the smaller bit compressed A model. Yeah. I don't know how to explain it. Maybe it's really to how it all works anyways. It's like a similar thing, compression usage of compressed bits to make more. Yeah, it's kind of like you can have a compressed video and the video quality isn't as nice, but it doesn't matter. You can still do the thing that really matters to you, right? I'm getting a lot of clicks all of a sudden. We are maybe a little bit lower. I'm a little, Oh, you know what's going on. So something that happens with this, with my indicator here is that the way that it works is it will like take out the entry from way back here and add in the new entry essentially, because that's like more performant than saying like, okay, add all the last 10 together. And so if you do something that screws things up back here, then it's forever screwed up after that. So yeah. Anyways, maybe I need to make a thing where if you interrupt it, it just goes back to 0 again or something. Or I need to change it. Oh, I was going to change it so that it keeps the underlying values there, so that if they don't match what it's supposed to, then it goes back and changes it. But I don't know if it's important enough to bother with. But I'm just, if you're looking at this down here, or you have it on your own chart, it's not going to look the same. Because I screwed it up on my instance today. Department of Justice settles with retired General Flynn for malicious Russellgate prosecution. I would honestly rather see a judgment against the Department of Justice to set the precedent, but, you know, whatever. Iran laying traps and building up defenses on Karg Island, preparing for a U.S. ground attack. I am kind of wondering, like, if you wanted to do a ground invasion, wouldn't it be better for all of the troops to, like, already be here long before you would want to use them? Because now you do have this thing where it's like the troops are coming, and are you going to use them or not? And that gives the enemy time to prepare and stuff, and would have been better if they could have done it earlier. Like, they could have gone into Carg Island last week after they just bombarded it. But then I also wonder if they're going to set booby traps and stuff on it. Would they do things that would actually damage the infrastructure there? Would the Iranians do things that would damage the infrastructure there? What sort of things would they do? Will AI trigger the next Great Depression? I don't think so. You know, the thing is for the past 3 years now, we've kind of been in a period where I've kind of been like, you know, I'm surprised we've done as well as we've had, because there was a real probability of a recession somewhere in there, and it just kind of keeps trugging along. So like, I don't see how AI would cause that. Like, yeah, there's going to be a lot of displacement, but the efficiency gains are probably going to keep the economy afloat. Western Intel says Russia preparing kamikaze drone shipment to Iran. I'm just thinking, is there anything else I want to look at or talk about? I feel like maybe there is, but probably I'm thinking that just because I haven't kind of done all of my regular rounds yet. Former Oracle VP nuked his Twitter account, but why does that have to do with GameStop? This is from the GameStop meltdown. digital labels coming to all Walmarts by 2027. You know, I saw the technology for digital price tags at the store, like, I want to say in 1998, like a really long time ago. And I always kind of wondered why they didn't implement that. They're going to have things where it's like the prices are constantly changing and you can be sitting there at the store and, you know, look at something the beginning of your walk and the end of your walk and see it change. That would be wild. Probably not, but maybe they would change like once a day or something. Ooh, new Africa's StarCraft League season videos are up today. I'm excited. LinkedIn is dead. We need a better alternative. No, your network just sucks. Sorry. Study finds younger men are choosing gaming nights with the boys over nights out at the bars. Yeah, because a bar and a club is really not actually a good social venue. So being drunk is not necessarily the best way to be social, and gets really loud in places like that. Wow, 929 comments on that. Reddit has some thoughts. We're moving up, huh? Something happened. Oh. Tehran waits response from the U.S. An Iranian source to the Iranian news agency Tasnim, is that? I don't know how. Wait, it's Tasnim, Tasnim. Tasnim. Oh, you're probably right. Yeah, that sounds more Arabic to me than that. According to that same intelligence source, Iran stated in its response that the crimes and terrorism on the part of the enemy must be ended. Real conditions must be created so that the war does not recur. Compensation must be made for the damages and losses caused in the war, and this must be clearly guaranteed, and the war must be ended on all fronts and with all the resistance groups that took part in the campaign throughout the region. He emphasized that Iran's control of the Strait of Hormuz is a natural and legal right of Iran and will remain so, and that the fulfillment of the other side's commitments must also be ensured and recognized. These conditions of Iran, they are in addition to the demands presented to the other side in the second round of negotiations in Geneva. So the market is buying on this, but this doesn't sound like a good response to me. This sounds to me like a more official reiteration of what they were saying earlier, which was, no, it has to include this, 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 and this. And I don't know if those conditions are necessarily acceptable. Like, you can't say, okay, yeah, we'll never attack Iran again, yada, yada, yada. No. It'll be, if Iran has to do this, 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 or this, or we're going to fuck them real hard. Like, right? Crimes and terrorism on the part of the enemy must be ended. And that's another key point, is that Iran has been, you know, supporting terrorist
Bye.
organizations and stuff all around the region. And what part of Trump's demands is that that ends, right? I suppose though that they're not saying anything in here that the US couldn't perhaps try to address in the proposed peace plan. But I'm not convinced that this is an explicitly good by all the things headline. Fannie Mae will accept crypto-backed mortgages. Oh, that's a bad idea. It's still moving here. I do wonder if somebody's going to come in and put the opposite trade on. What's your predictions? So the only prediction that I am confident in making in relation to the Iran conflict is that the United States will see through to the end. So I think that there's a lot of talk out there that I think a lot of it is driven by Chinese propaganda, that like the United States really bit off more than it can chew. They want an exit, and Donald Trump is going to chicken out and pull out of Iran and stop hostilities in order to open the strait again, because they can't handle the economic and political pressure, and the U.S. will have not accomplished much in Iran. And I think that that is wrong on two fronts. Number one, the United States has accomplished a tremendous amount in Iran. They have been set back decades in Iran, okay, in terms of like their weapons programs and all of this stuff. So definitely makes it harder for Iran to get a bomb, an A bomb, and nuclear weapons and things like that. But the other side of it is the United States simply cannot afford to create the perception around the world that you can just dig in and resist the United States and that they have no power over you anymore, right? That is frankly like an existential threat to the United States-led world order. So they're not going to let that stand. Even if Donald Trump really, really wanted to pull out and everything, they wouldn't let him. They wouldn't let him. So it is going to be like now the peace deal that Donald Trump is kind of putting forth, I think would be acceptable. I think could be acceptable. But it doesn't sound to me like Iran is really, really playing along. So, yeah, does that mean that we're going to have a ground invasion? Not necessarily, but I do think it's pretty likely. Right? Like, that's kind of the conundrum is that Iran kind of needs a way to save face, but the United States needs a way to say to everybody, hey, if you disrupt global shipping, we're going to F you up. Right? That is something that they cannot allow. It's like, again, I was saying, it's like in Dune, right? What happened in Dune is Paul disrupts the spice, and that causes the Emperor himself to come to Arrakis, and that's what precipitates the final battle, right? You cannot disrupt the travel and entire economy of the world and not expect severe consequences. So they've got to make sure that nobody ever tries that again. So you want them to surrender? Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that's about it. But I mean, what actually is surrender? Agreeing to not make a nuclear weapon ever again, not try to make a nuclear weapon ever again, give up all of the uranium. I mean, you go and you read the 15-point plan. I don't think there's anything in that 15-point plan that is really that unreasonable, especially given the circumstances. It's like, okay, either don't make a nuclear weapon or face Armageddon. Okay, let's just stop the nuclear weapons program. Seems a little easier to me, doesn't it? Now, the response that we're getting from Iran, by the way, is not necessarily like, yeah, we're never going to give up trying to get a nuclear weapon. It's actually kind of more like, well, but then you're just going to come back and attack us again in a few years, right? So maybe it's workable. Maybe it's workable. Trump is 80 in June. He doesn't want to go down in history as one who was scared out. Well, but again, I'm saying beyond. This is one of those things. I think one of the issues I see with a lot of the predictions that people make is that it's entirely based on what kind of a person they think Donald Trump is, right? And this is why you often get wildly varying predictions about what's going to come out, and usually like none of those things happen, and everybody just kind of forgets, right? But this is something that I don't think that you have to rely on Donald Trump and his temperament. There are larger systems at work, essentially. Yeah, now I'm hearing on the news squawk, it's one-sided and unfair. Well, yeah, you're kind of the one that got bombed into oblivion, so. Actually, that comment makes me less hopeful for a deal. Lacks the minimum requirements for success. As an avid weaver of hats, I want an IRGC hat. The bills on them are hilariously huge. Oh, really? Oh, you're right. It is a baseball cap with a hilariously long bill. How do you turn an R into a V? I don't know. They were wearer. Oh, you're right. No, how did I get a V out of that? I don't know. So here's the thing. My monitors are significantly farther away from me than they probably should be. So sometimes small text, I can see it because of the shape of the word. So you're going to regret saying that because you just gave me a segue into my current hyper interest, right? There we go. Okay, so you can kind of see that's an R and a V. And the thing is, both of these characters are lowercase, smaller letters, right? So what people do actually is they only look at like the top. They only look at like the top of the letter, right? So me, when I'm looking a little bit too far away, I guess I saw V there. So kind of interesting that I came out as I said weaver, because as I read it, I said that, well, that makes no sense. Uzi weaves hats, but the Iran hat is a woven hat. I don't understand. Like at the time, I didn't make sense, and it's weird to me that my brain didn't say, no, you're reading that word is not a V. A wearer of hats makes perfect sense, and why I didn't put that together is a little funny, right? Like, what? Okay, but then when you look at the hat that we're talking about here, how come it didn't go back to my thing? When you look at the actual hat, like that is comically, what the heck? I'm not sure I understand the point of a hat like that. Like, if it's for sun protection, don't you want something that's more... No, Vital, I know what I'm doing. Okay, so in the classic italic, which is what I like to write in, an R is like this. And the reason an R is like this is because you do it with an edge nib. So these things that are going down like this are going to be a little bit thicker. A lot bit thicker. Then this little part right here is kind of thin. And so that's how you get kind of that characteristic R. In Spencerian, they do it like this. Right? They do it like that. So, the issue with Spencerian is really designed to look elegant, right? That's why it's got all of these loops and stuff. You get this loop, but then you have like this loop and this loop, or actually they do it like this. You have an eye. Okay. If you have a pen that can vary its width based on how hard you're pressing, then you can kind of do things like you make this line, this downstroke thicker than the upstroke, and it kind of all works out. But when you're monoline, these loops just kind of like all jumble together, and then you've got down here, you've got a G and it's doing this and all, right? It becomes hard to read, right? Versus, I actually kind of want it to be a little bit thinner here. The italic. Oh, actually, I forgot we're doing where. Let me try that again. Versus, let's see here, how would they do it in Spencerian? It'd be like a W, E, A, R, E, R. Midday, too big. Need guides and stuff. Oh, so in Spencerian, you would actually... Which of those two do you think is easier to read? Just saying. Just saying. Isn't R like one of the hardest letters worldwide because we all handle and treat R different, and that's why Japanese struggle? Well, yes, in terms of saying it. Well, that is an interesting thing. I had never kind of thought about that, but yes. You can form the R sound because it's really, you're using your mouth to fluctuate the pitch, essentially, to filter the pitch. So you can make the R sound with different parts of your mouth. So in English, we're kind of more R. It's kind of in the middle, I guess. R. There are some words R or R. In Spanish, the R is kind of more where you would do a T. R. And then because of that, you can trill it. Right? So it's all where the tongue is, and that can be really hard for people when they're learning because people don't think about where they put their tongue when they speak. The upper looks like you didn't attend school and are uneducated. No, it doesn't. It looks like I live in 1700. You just don't know. You just don't know. Let's wait. Let's look at the... Okay. Okay. Here's the Declaration of Independence. How do they do an R? Okay. As many judges dependent on his will alone. Or, oh, they do it the other way. I'm wrong. Oh my God. I thought for sure that they did that, the italic R. I guess I need an even older document than that. How did they do an S back then? Oh, wait. That is a good question. Or how did they do the S on the Declaration of Independence? Rather. Conditions. No, it's more American. It's like this. Instead of like this. Or like this. Aha, teaching you today? No. See, you still just don't know. So let's find Renaissance writing examples. Maybe we'll find something like Da Vinci. Oh, let's try that. Or writing images. Oops. I don't think that's Da Vinci. I think that's somebody else. Oh, that's written backwards. Wow. Okay. That's kind of weird. Okay, well there you can see here, his is not cursive, but you can see the italic R. You know, you will see where an S was a capital F practically. Ah. That's not a cursive either. Okay, what I'm actually trying to write like is like Yeah. Oh, come on. This is terrible. Come on, give me a good high resolution image. Here. Oh, that's interesting. It's not big enough. Let's do it like this. Images, tools, size, large. Ooh, that's a good one. No, it's not cursive. They're not connected. So here's one that's that's a cursive that uses the italic R. You know, the original Bible was, oh yeah. See, the way that it worked was like, it's kind of started with like Roman letters. I mean, there was stuff before that, but there was like Roman letters. And then they got into some of the, I think it was Unicale, where they started to have like lowercase letters that were different. And then there was Humanist, and then they got to italic. And italic was like, my understanding, like the 1600s, 1700s. And then what happened was scripts like Spencerian and all of its kind of derivatives like Palmer script and things like that kind of took off in the United States. Okay. And what I'm saying is, this is more readable. It is more readable. Basically, the loops make it harder to read. The loops make it harder to read. Here, I can minimize the picking up, right? But it's readable. But what I'm doing is essentially I'm going back to an earlier version of writing. I'm going back to an earlier version of writing than what they teach in school. A modern version of it, but it's italic script. Oh, it's just as fast to write it. I'm just really meticulous. Yeah. So an interesting thing about that is that there's a real tempo to it. Now, if I had guides, let's see. Actually, I think I have it over here. Yeah. If I open up Brita. Wow, I opened up a lot of tabs showing that. Yeah. That good? I think so. So I don't like that. So this, first of all, is too big. Okay. And I also think that this is a little, I'm zoomed in one too far. There we go. Make that like that. Okay. Guy is such a nerd. He has to use it on graphing paper. I know. Timer. Stopwatch. 1 minute. So I should be able to do it once. I should be able to write this sentence at least once. Okay, ready to go. I got a little messed up there. Stop. Oh, that was so loud. You guys didn't hear, but that is so loud. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So about 14 or 15 words a second. Granted, I tell you what, it's a lot easier for me to write on a piece of paper when I can see like the edge of the pen touching the paper kind of helps you. Whereas this, when I'm looking at the screen, I kind of feel like I'm doing it all by feel. Ladies usually like it when you work on your hand dexterity. Slightly different hand dexterity, I think. I think I want to do it actually like, I think that should be my letter height. Yeah, that would be better. That looks way better. So I think like that jumps right there is a good example of how I feel that italic script is easier to read. So like if you take notes, right, and then you can't read them afterwards, or you don't like looking at them, learn italic and go back, and you'll massively improve. But if I was gonna like write wedding invitations or something like that, then you would use more Spencerian. Your wife might suspect you're gay with this hobby. So I'm interested to find out, in Japan, like stationery is a big hobby in Japan, but it is very much a woman's hobby. Kind of like scrapbooking. Women in the U.S. do scrapbooking. It's kind of like their version of scrapbooking. When you get into calligraphy, I don't know. I'm going to guess that it would be more women, but there are a lot of instructors and people, like the top guy in that space is named Michael Soul. It was kind of, I guess, the one that revived it. The guy. So I don't know if it's majority guys, though. I bet you that guys are probably still a minority. It's my guess. It's my guess, but I don't really know. The thing I kind of wonder is, why would you consider it a naturally female hobby? Just because it doesn't involve going outside and using your strength? Because back in the day, man, before you had TV and radio, what do you think people did in the evening? You'd sit and you're working by candlelight, right? Write letters, read. Male monks do that Japanese calligraphy with large brushes. Easy, because it's not outside. Requires precision and accuracy. Man, just angry dummy who hunt lion. Woman is a delicate creature of prey and gentle. It is. I mean, it is kind of weird, some of the cultural conceptions that we have about genders, isn't it? Because on one hand, there are definitely biological differences between men and women, even in the area of how the brain works. But then there are these cultural ideas about what those differences are that don't actually match up with necessarily with what the differences really are. I think it's kind of weird. Ah, there you go. Vital, you got the right idea, Vital. It's an upper class hobby. It is. Well, I wouldn't say that it's like a hobby that you have to have a lot of money to do now or anything like that, but it is traditionally something that upper class people would have done. Yes. Very much so. Maybe, I do kind of wonder, if you wanted to write letters, if you wanted to do a lot of writing, and you needed paper and a pen and the ink and all of those sorts of things, maybe those would have been really expensive back then. Ooh, I bet you we could ask ChatGPT. Was writing in the Middle Ages and then in time periods since significantly more expensive than it is today? Like, did paper and ink cost a lot, so only upper class people would do a lot of it. I'm going to bet that it's going to say more that most people just didn't know how to read and write. Okay. ChatGPT says, yes, writing used to be significantly more expensive than it is today, and that had a big impact on who actually wrote regularly. Before paper became widespread in Europe, they would use parchment made from animal skins. Ink wasn't trivial either. Common ink like gall ink required ingredients like oak galls, iron salts, and gum arabic. Not insanely rare, but still labor-intensive to produce. And writing tools needed preparation and maintenance. So writing materials were valuable enough that people reused them. You even see palimpsests where old text was scraped off of parchment and overwritten. That's interesting. Writing wasn't just about materials, it was about time and skill. Scribes trained for years. Books were copied by hand, sometimes taking months or years. Monasteries and wealthy patrons funded most writing. That's why literacy and writing were concentrated among clergy, nobility, and some merchants. Paper changed things, but slowly. By the time of the printing revolution, paper was cheaper than parchment. Then books became more accessible. But writing was still not cheap by modern standards. Early modern industrial and era costs kept dropping. Mass paper production in the 18th and 19th centuries. Steel pens replacing quills, eventually pencils and cheap ink. By the 19th century, writing became accessible to the middle class. Widespread schooling increased literacy. Interesting. And today, writing is essentially near zero cost. I missed Paul's comment here because to spend your time doing something as worthless as writing when you could be doing work or farming, get to work, like how all lawns are just grass now because of the rich people. That is something that I really wonder about, because I've seen some TikTok videos from people that complain about how we are destroying our ecosystems with monocultures because we want grass. And I'm like, okay, but what would people do with their yards before that? Like, I don't think that you have any comparison, because during that time period, people didn't have yards like that. So if we were going to have a revolution where people stopped planting grass and plant something else, what would we plant? I don't know, because I think that you would just get all of these weeds that you wouldn't want to walk on. You know? Your yard should have food growing in it, not grass. Grass was for the rich, showing they were well off, so they don't even have to grow their own food. So, I find writing to be a really good overlooked hobby because a couple of reasons. One, you can easily pick it up and put it down at any time. So I can even, if I'm at work and something's building, I can pull out the notebook, pull the pen out, quickly write something, go back, right? So a lot of things, there's all this preparation and stuff that you got to do, right? This is a hobby you can literally do it anytime, anywhere, right? Then the number two thing is that it is a calming and relaxing hobby. This is something you can do before you go to sleep. Do it an hour before you go to sleep, and it will prep you for sleep. Okay. 3, there is like a significant social component to it because you can send letters to people. You can send letters to people. And it's something that like everybody kind of understands and appreciates because everybody has learned to write to some degree, right? And then on top of all of that, it is not that expensive. I mean, you can get dip pens and all of this sort of stuff and you can spend money on it, but it only takes like $20 to start, right? So when people are thinking like, oh, I really want to pick up a new hobby, you know, and they have all of the things that you could like pickleball, right? And I'm sitting here like, why don't more people pick up writing? And it's simply because computers, essentially, right? Oh, we got computers, you type now, there's no reason. I don't have to deal with my bad handwriting. And see, most people have bad handwriting because we have a poor teaching system. So one of the advantages to italic is that the way that you do it in regular italic versus the way that the letter looks in cursive italic are the same. So you're not relearning the letters, right? What happens in our current school system is right when you get to the point where you're old enough to really improve your handwriting, they make you learn a completely new script. And then they drop it. Then you don't practice your handwriting at all, ever. So everybody ends up with bad handwriting because of that. And then nobody wants to write. If your school taught italic script, like I was just showing you, probably more people would enjoy writing. And you'd have to like actively teach it. Like there would be specific like 30 minutes of writing practice every day in school. They would get good at it. Kids would get good at it. You give them proper writing tools. Things like that. They would get good at it. And then there would only be a very small number of people that actually had truly bad handwriting. Oh, and have them do it on with guidelines on the paper. So it is actually quite difficult to, without lines to reference, to keep letters all, you know, exactly the same heights and stuff. It's hard. And we can notice even teeny tiny little variations. When the AI makes laws banning humans from the internet because we were irresponsible, we'll go back to writing. Hold on a second. This reminds me of how if you look into many of the secrets of Japanese memorization, it almost always boils down to Japanese people love to just write things down repeatedly. Well, that's what I am going to do. So I would like to have a set of quotes or something that I write over and over and over again. So I'm trying to collect some quotes and stuff. We'll see. Because I kind of got through my workbook, and I'm gonna wait until next month to get another one. I think the next thing though will be pointed pens, so it'll be like what people consider like traditional calligraphy, real calligraphy. And then who knows, maybe I will write wedding invitations or something. Do lots of people still do that? I don't know. I've seen stuff online. There's definitely people do that and they make money from it. I mean, it's like a couple $1,000s. If I made as much money from writing as I do from running the YouTube channel, but I was only spending 30 minutes a day doing it, I'd be super happy with that. Just streaming is not so bad. Like, honestly, my day is just not the same without a stream in the morning. It gets me warmed up and it makes everything so much better. But like making the videos, oh, so much work. Making videos is so much work, guys. So much work to, you know, sometimes they just get completely ignored. As the core audience, you guys watch all of them, but man, YouTube these days, there's some things about how YouTube has turned out that just really kind of make me depressed to think about it, to be honest. Oh, there was some good comments on this one, why traders really fell. Actually, let's come in and look at the stats on our latest video, because I kind of hadn't looked in a week. So it's been out for 2 weeks now, right? Because it wasn't this Monday, it was last Monday, I think. Well, that video... Oh, that's interesting. I'm looking at, like, in the last 48 hours. Top video is Ninja Trader 8, Advanced Tips and Tricks. Programming Basics, Order Flow and DOM Trading for Beginners. Here's this one. Okay, the Ultimate Guide to Cumulative Delta. That was one that I thought should do well and wasn't doing that well, and that one's doing okay. The secret to day trading is there. But then there's one like Trading the News. That was one that I was always like, why is this not more popular? Okay, Trump is speaking. Says crushing Iran's stockpiles. Complaining about the shutdown. Don't know if we're willing to work a deal with Iran, so the market's not liking that. Mostly beginner videos bring the most views in your case. That might be. I feel like that video is a beginner video though. But like, look at the thing here. When you look at the performance of it, it is low. Basically, like the 200 or 300 people that tend to watch all of my videos watched it. And it doesn't look like it's actually getting to the other people. And YouTube kind of has stopped showing it to people after the 4th day. And the click-through rate is kind of just meh. So maybe that thumbnail isn't good enough. Maybe I got somebody with a better thumbnail, it would make the video do better. Sometimes it is just like, you know, video, you know, a couple people click on it and then the algorithm picks up on it and starts to give it a more chance and it takes off. That can happen. Like the first week is not always indicative of how a video will do. Yeah, and the image title should have just put big green letters saying $50,000 and boom, that's all. Yeah. Yeah, oh, we'll never do that. I do wonder though, is that still a significant thing? Well, the thing that I'm hearing a lot about is people are a lot more interested in quant content, which is interesting to me. And I feel like, you know, the funny thing is I could make a lot of quant content, but I kind of feel like that wouldn't be really enough to make people competitive. So that's part of the reason why I haven't spent a whole lot of time doing that, right? Like I feel inadequate when it comes to quant things. I think that's partly because maybe if I was spending more of my focus on running a portfolio, then I would be bigger on the quant stuff, right? Which, hey, I mean, I have all of the certifications and everything to do that. Maybe I should just focus on running a fund. And hey, yeah, it would be hard to raise the money and everything, but you don't stand a chance of doing that if you don't have a good strategy. Yeah. Yeah. Trump says the old Iranian leaders are dead because they didn't do a deal. It's coming. There's like two guys kind of in charge right now, the foreign minister and the new IRGC head. And if there's still kind of having this back and forth, oh, we don't want to have a deal next week, they're gonna die, I think. Yeah. De-arrow alternative thumbnails for YouTube. It replaces all clickbait crap with titles that explain what the video is about and images taken from a frame in the video set by people and not AI. Oh, that's interesting. That's like a plugin. AI is making people better at hating clickbait images, I think, or at least more aware right now, it seems. So maybe the time of clickbait crap will die. That's why millions like me use de-arrow. Because I think it's the opposite. How would we know? I think that there is so much clickbaity BS out there, and it's not just that it's got like a clickbaity thumbnail, but that the actual content is stuff that people just can't help but click on. The Mr. Beastification of YouTube, that every video, the thing that they are doing is so ridiculous that I just can't compete with that. And that includes in the trading space. The videos that are going to get the most clicks are the ones that are like, this one strategy, blah, 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 blah. And meanwhile, a video that's like, let me reveal to you the one principle that matters the most to whether you will succeed or not in day trading. They're kind of like, meh. I'd rather have somebody tell me exactly which moving averages and so forth to use so that I can make $10,000 a day. Jeez. It's a plugin for browsers and on phones. Sponsored blog too. Because overall, on YouTube, I find YouTube less engaging these days. I still enjoy Veritasium videos, and I will always kind of have a new subject, like pens or whatever it is, so where you can research about that hobby on YouTube. But the existing subjects that I'm interested in watching videos about on YouTube, I don't see a lot of new good content. You would come in the morning and I'll, like, you know, open up a bunch of tabs of videos for the day, and that'll keep me for the day. And now sometimes it's like I'll watch 1 or 2 videos. And it's entirely down to they changed the algorithms and what the website optimizes for, and so people started making content in line with that, and it's not as good of content, frankly. You know, I mean, these are moves. The degree of the moves are tradable. But at the moment, that's kind of like, meh. Because the market is just kind of treating it like noise. I understand why normies hate YouTube often. Stock YouTube is horrible AI pushing shorts filled clickbait crap. Take control, force it to change, remove shorts and more, and make it usable again. Every time that people mention shorts, like the thing that bothers me about shorts is that I want to make a video that's like, this is going to be pushed out to people, but only over the next 2 days, right? I enjoyed the short-term nature of early TikTok was much more short-term in nature. And then they decided, oh, we want to move more into long-form content. And I get why they did it. Like, I think that if I was a business person, all I was thinking about is business, I would probably come to the same conclusion, even though I think it's wrong. We don't get very good conversion rate on our advertisements. Yeah, because the content that you're serving is so vapid. So what would be the only solution there? Have longer form content. Push the creators into longer form content so you get better click-through rates. But I actually think that's the wrong thing. I think you should have kept it the way that it was originally. 1 minute, maybe 2 minute max videos. And a very short-term nature of it, meaning that they're only going to show the video like the next 2 days if it goes viral, and then you focus on making money from the viral nature of that app. Vital says Chart Fanatics did a nice. What are you talking about? I don't know what that is or what. But they did a nice job of what? Why are you bringing that up? They did a nice job on YouTube? Or I don't understand. I kind of wonder with YouTube that it's like the viewer that I'm really going for has already given up, right? Like they get on YouTube, they see that all the trading content is trash, and so they just don't want to look at any trading content. And so by the time they see my content, they're already burnt, right? Donald Trump just said that Iran was a test for NATO. Remember this in a couple of months. Dude, I think he might be right, to be honest with you. Like, to be honest with you. What does the United States get out of this? If the top policy threat in the world for the last 40 years and then we finally have a conflict with it, and everybody in NATO was like, oh, we're just going to pretend this isn't happening. What? Why are we contributing to NATO then? What are we getting out of it? I really think the Europeans are making a big mistake. They are giving the conservatives in the United States a really good argument to not be involved in NATO, which I don't think would be a good thing for the world, by the way. But it would be a disastrous thing for Europe, because Russia is kind of a threat, and Europe doesn't have an army. Yeah, is he hinting at a NATO withdrawal? I don't know. I mean, I don't know if you can just withdraw from NATO, but let's ask ChatGPT. I bet you that there's stuff about that's a question that I think would have been discussed before that we could look at. It's almost time to get going. Now I was saying, oh, I should be doing this or that, but we got yapping. Could Trump legally just withdraw from NATO? Okay. Short answer, not unilaterally, at least not without a fight. The treaty itself says any member can leave after giving 1 year's notice. Who has the power to do that? The Constitution doesn't clearly say who can withdraw from treaties. The president can enter treaties only with Senate approval. But withdrawal, that's a gray area. There's precedent both ways. Carter withdrew from a treaty with Taiwan on his own, which was challenged in court. The Supreme Court avoided ruling directly and left it unresolved. So it's unsettled constitutional territory. Oh. Because I tell you what, Trump loves that shit. Like any time where it's like, well, you don't do that, but then actually maybe you can because nobody's ever tried and it's a legal gray zone. He looks for those. He is particularly interested in those. Okay. But it continues. Congress has already tried to block this. In recent years, Congress passed laws specifically aimed at NATO withdrawal. For example, the 2023 National Defense Authorization Act says a president cannot withdraw from NATO without a Senate approval or an act of Congress. Okay. So that's interesting. So when Trump is talking about this with NATO, I don't think that he is hinting at a NATO withdrawal, because I don't think that he can do that. Instead, it's just going to be like, we're going to give NATO less support. We're not going to do this. We're not going to do that, right? Like he is kind of hinting at like less cooperation with NATO in the future, yes, but apparently he can't just withdraw because they made laws about it to prevent him from doing it. Crazy how Congress tried to preemptively pass those. Oh yeah, Congress is absolutely terrified that he would do that, because NATO is the bulwark of a large base of their monetary support, right? Like the industrial war complex is definitely a base of power in the United States that significantly affects congressional power. And frankly, it should be, because the United States' preeminent position in the world is the world's largest superpower, army that's completely unmatched, is a large factor behind the economic success that we have. He's still talking It does really. I mean, especially the S&P 500 came all the way down. They don't like what they're hearing. Granted, it's Thursday. I think the timing of it is important too, right? Because it wasn't that the 5-day deadline basically like Saturday night. So I kind of feel like that if there isn't some significant progress made in the next day, like, okay, Iran sent us something. They're waiting for the U.S. to counter. Could the U.S. counter and put stuff in there that's more direct, like, we'll never attack you unless you continue to support terrorism and try and make a bomb. And then that's not enough for them or whatever. But so we're not quite to like, oh, it's for sure happening. But my understanding is that the Marines will be in position this weekend, and that then tomorrow we get to have the weekly ritual of, will the United States invade Karg Island? I feel like that the holiday is a little bit more interesting than last week, right? Because now we get to discuss the will they, won't they, and the tea leaves that we're getting about whether will they, won't they, and we can discuss how prepared they actually are for it, and we can discuss how booby-trapped Karg Island is or not. You did 2 take profits? That was good. So, by the way, where did we kind of flip around at? Well, we did play at 20.5. I don't think there's any way, though, that I would have tried to take the reversal at 20.5. You need to buy some tiny American flags, and every Friday we wave them around talking about the holiday. Right. Well, I tried to get an American flag in the background right there, right? But sometimes I kind of wish that I had something more prominent. Like I was going to get a flag that just hung down the entire wall behind the marquee scroller. So part of me kind of wants to go back to, yeah, I don't sit up straight enough, but it makes me want to go back to the 24 millimeter lens instead of the 50, so you can see a little bit more of the room, but put more decorations down. Tattoo your forehead with a flag. Oh, there you go. That's an idea. Well, I feel a little bit like torn about what we're doing during stream. I think we're having good discussion and everything. I do think that this is kind of a time period where I don't necessarily want to dive into something too like programming too deep, because there could be action that would really make me want to get involved. It's just the stuff that we're getting right now. It's like it's not enough to move the needle for them anymore. So let's just be patient. But I do really, really want to get a move on that platform too. And maybe we could do that on Friday. But and maybe I can do some of that on the downtime, like after work and in the evening today. So, because I feel like we're really close, and that could be really, really great for us, right? But in the meantime, I think we're just kind of waiting to see what happens this weekend, huh? This weekend, and then the next, and then after that, then I'm kind of like not sure what happens. Like if this is not like moving into a different stage by next week, then I'm really start to rack my mind about what might happen. It might not be good. Okay, anyways, I'll see you guys tomorrow, all right? Stay